Revolutionary greetings to all the forces, and thank you very much for tuning in. Our subject for today is racism, systematic and blind racism, a topic that a lot of people don't want to speak about because they say that it's sensitive. But this is the Unapologetic channel. We speak the truth unapologetically and we confront the truth. Because if you don't confront the truth, you'll end up rallying up behind and believing in illusions. A lot of people are unnecessarily flabbergasted by the recent videos of the DA's new MP, Member of Parliament, being unapologetically racist.
There's a couple of things I want to say, okay? Kill the f***ing cat. Kill all the f***ing. That's all I've got to say. Kill the cats, kill all the f***.
If you are to be honest, that was his application to the DA party. If you don't believe me, then have a look at this video. Another DA MP during his university days.
The University of Pretoria that aren't allowing white students to study veterinary science there. They rejected after applying. We're representing about, I think it's 73 students that applied, and they were rejected because of the fact that they're white. We know this because they eventually, after a big struggle, told us.
And what is he doing? Being racist and mocking the black people. He was also recruited by the DA party because he knows what he stands for. That's the imperative part when it comes to aligning with political parties. And a lot of black people were taught to emulate the whites, and many align with them on this fallacious idea of building a united country on an unequal playground. If you really think that majority of white people in this country care about black people, then you must be a crazy person that is overpowered by illusions. You must be out of your mind, to be honest, because what are you talking about? And don't get me wrong, but there are a lot of white people in this country who are genuinely trying to get rid of racism. As much as there's a lot of black people in this country who are trying to get rid of racism, but their efforts cannot be adequate because the system is designed in such a way that the system is against equality and your progress as a black person. Colonialism, it all goes back to colonialism and apartheid. Two systems which created a white system that benefits a certain group of people. A lot of white people don't want to be equal with you because they know that if that happens, they will lose their privilege in society. From the inception, this has always been about a race war, whether you are Jewish, Egyptian, Indian, Chinese, white or black. During colonialism and apartheid period, the white people in this country used the labor and used black people and Chinese to gain a lot of wealth and created an invisible system where they have all the control and make you live like you are a peasant in your own country. And if you don't agree with me, I'll make a perfect example. We are the ones who are digging up the diamonds in mines that are owned by the white man and get paid not even a quarter of that diamond. We are the ones who are cashiers in white-owned supermarket that sells food that comes from the same farms that white people kicked us away from. We are the ones who are cashiers in white-owned banks that charges us high interest rates systematically. And we are also the ones who are working in the farms that are owned by white people. And majority of those farms were taken away from the black people during the early colonial era in 1652, during the British colonial era in 1806 as a result of the Berlin Conference, as well as during the formation of the Union of South Africa in 1910, which led to laws such as the Native Land Act. And during the 1948 apartheid period, which was the worst period ever in our history, which led to the enactment of laws such as the Group Areas Act, the creation of the Bantustan, and the forceful removals where a lot of millions of black South Africans were forcefully removed from their homes and land and put in squatter camps, and put in the ghettos. Example such as the removals from towns such as the Sophia town. And I can go on and on to show some of you why I don't believe in this illusion of unity when that happens at my expense as a black person. Political power is nothing without economic power. And you know what the system does? The system will rather put a couple of black faces, instead of giving everyone a free play, they would rather put a couple of black faces there as billionaires and millionaires and put them on a fictitious paradigm to make the kids in the ghetto believe that they can get out of the ghetto, while those ghettos were built by the same system to keep them there. I'm not really saying that black people are victims, but I'm just saying that we just don't know where we stand and we don't know who we are. We are afraid of being unapologetically black conscious in a world where race plays a fundamental role. We prefer to cling to the illusions of unity even at our own expense. That is the most crazy. For example, a lot of black people now regret voting for the DA because they thought that the DA was not racist and it cared about advancing their lives. And it cared about progressing the country. But to be honest, the DA cares about protecting the interests of white people. But they have to play a game in order to achieve your votes, because if they don't play the game, you're not going to put them into power. And a lot of people can't see someone behind the veil. They just listen to what they say and take their word for it. And I saw a comment on Twitter by someone, I'll try to find it. But he said a lot of black people don't want to play the game, but want others to stop playing the game. And honestly, that is very true. But I'll just touch on the history of the DA and break their backs just to show you that this party is formed based on racism. Its foundation is racist. It's based on racism. And you, as a black person, by voting for the DA, you are delaying your progress and the progress of your country, unless you don't know where you stand for, which goes back to what I spoke about, black consciousness. A lot of us don't know where we stand, and then we don't know what we represent, which is very problematic. This is why you find a big chunk of black people are still voting for a predominantly white party, because they believe that that party cares about their interests. And I'm trying to pick a mind of a lot of people on why they vote for the DA. I'm going to touch on a couple of issues which are very imperative. DA is against land expropriation without compensation because they believe apartheid did nothing wrong. I'm not the one who said it. Helen Zille said it a couple of times. The DA says nothing about the redistribution of resources that were gained under the apartheid, a very cruel system, which is part of the reason why this country is so unequal, the most unequal country in the world. The DA wants to get rid of BEE. The DA wants to get rid of NSFAS. The DA supports Orania. Isn't that racism? Or maybe you needed a white man to bluntly say, kill all the black people, before you can understand that this party is a racist organization. Racism, it is not just a matter of making remarks. It goes deep. Racism in its deepest understanding is a multifaceted social phenomenon that includes beliefs, practices, and institutional structures that result in the differential treatment of individuals based on their race or based on their ethnicity, which is the case when it comes to the Democratic Alliance movement. The Renaldo Gouws case is not an isolated one. He represents the views of the Democratic Alliance movement. And I don't fathom why people find it flabbergasting now that a DA member is racist. DA itself is a racist organization, that uses black faces to act as a good party and the party that cares about South Africa. In the DA, they don't see black people as leaders, but as black faces that are promoting a white agenda. Hence, you see that a lot of black leaders don't even last in the DA. We can speak about Musi Maiman, one of the most phenomenal leaders, but he never progressed within the DA. He was just used as a face to gain the votes of the black people, and then they just throw him away, just like that. And if you still don't believe me, I'm going to touch a bit on their history to show you that DA is a racist organization. DA is just a direct product of the Nationalist Party. Even in 2000, when it was still called the Democratic Party, it merged with the Federal Alliance and the new National Party, which succeeded the Apartheid Party to form what is now called the Democratic Alliance movement. Today, DA has leaders from different backgrounds. That includes leaders from the original National Party. It has just managed to position itself properly in a democratic South Africa. And even if you look at their policies, majority of their policies, DA seeks to preserve the hold of white people as the ruling class of the South African economy. They support Israel in their massacre in Gaza. By supporting Israel, you automatically support apartheid. The majority of the people who are voting for the DA are black people. That one is a fact, statistically proven. But look at who went to parliament to represent the views of the voters. It is because they don't care about all races, but rather they care about protecting their white interest in a democratic South Africa. However, because they need your vote, as I said, they need to lie to you in order to gain your vote. That's how politics work. Majority of politicians are liars. bunch of liars. You think that these folks in their council meeting, while they are sitting there, they are saying things like, we need to destroy white monopoly capital and make sure that black people and all other races have access to power and access to resources. Or they say things like, we need to distribute the resources that were gained illegally under the apartheid so that we can all be equal in this society. You think they say things like that? Fuck no, they don't say such things. If you think that they say things like that, you must be a crazy person, as I said. If you do, then you need to think again. And I know a lot of clever blacks will say things like, but it is the same in other political parties. Bro, you need to think harder. It is the same in other political organizations because majority of the people in this country are black people. Simple.